What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski and I am back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And today, we just got some brand new news on the global version of One Piece Treasure Cruise, where we have the brand new raid boss finally announced on Treasure Cruise, which is really cool. We got Duval as our next raid boss. So people were suspecting it would be either Duval or the Buster Call, and people were right with Duval, and it's actually a pretty interesting raid boss. It actually is going to be a little bit tricky, and if you guys are on the lower level of your pirate level, then I would think that this would be a very difficult raid boss for you. There are lots of little kinks that Duval kind of has, and it is very tricky to take down without the right units. But before we get into today's video, guys, if you guys do go on to enjoy it, make sure to smack the like button down below as always, as it's always greatly appreciated, guys. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So first off, let's go ahead and break down the brand new unit, which is Duval, head of the Rosy Life Riders. So this guy here is a 5-star unit. However, in this raid, it's a little bit different, where this actual unit drops as a 3-star unit, and you have to evolve it into a 4-star unit and then a 5-star unit. Now, Duval here is a shooter free spirit type character, the exact same type. He's a dex unit as well, so the exact same attribute and classes as Strong World Blackclad Ace, which is kind of cool. And this guy has 50 cost, and he does have 3 socket spots, which is awesome. And at max level, at level 99, he has 2,608 health, 1,113 attack, and 308 recovery. So, out of all the raid bosses, he has definitely one of the lowest attacks that we've seen. He has high recovery and decent health, but that attack is very low compared to some of the other raid bosses that we have gotten thus far in Treasure Cruise. Now, his captain effect will reduce the cooldown of all specials on your team by 3 turns at the start of the fight, regardless of whatever unit they are. If this guy is your captain, all units on your team will receive 3 less turns on their special. And not only that, but he also boosts the attack of Dex characters by 2.75 times only if they have a matching orb. That is the thing that makes this guy a little worse, is that he only gives them a boost if they have a matching orb, which does make it a little bit tricky to use. Now, his special, which starts at 28 turns and maxes at 14 turns, will cut the current HP of all enemies by 20% and then reduces damage received by 50% for 1 turn. So it's kind of like a mixture between Mihawk Raid Boss and Smoker, where Mihawk will cut the HP and then Smoker will give a 50% shield. This guy's special is actually really cool, really good for a Dex team, good for a shooter team, good for a free spirit team. This guy can go on a various amounts of teams, and that special is very nice. It's just that his captain effect does let him down a little bit compared to some of the other raid bosses that we've gotten in the past. But overall, I think he's actually a decent unit, and that special is really good, and I would recommend to max out this guy because his special is so useful. So now let's go ahead and break down each and individual stages. So stage 1, as soon as you enter the dungeon, you'll encounter this room here. Now, the front units, which are the 3 fighter units at the front, they will spawn in on either a 1 or a 2 turn cooldown, while the pirate at the back, which is the shooter character, the female, she'll spawn in on a 1, 2, or 3 turn cooldown. Now, the guys at the front, the fighter units, now when they attack, or when they get a chance to attack, they'll deal 2,016 damage to you. However, in this dungeon, all of the female thug units, the female units you see, the shooter units, those will actually silence your friend captain for a single turn each time they get a chance to attack you. So you definitely want to take down those shooter characters first, because they can just basically ruin your run. If they get to silence your friend captain, it basically is going to end your run right there, because for some specific teams that will basically hinder their ability to actually do damage. So definitely you got to take down the female shooter first, and then you can take down the fighter characters once the shooter character is down. But overall, first stage is pretty simple. Let's move on to the second stage. So moving on to stage 2 here, we have a whole bunch of different units here. So first off, we have the Crab. Now, the Crab in the right hand corner has 12 health, which is actually pretty easy to deal with. He has really low defenses as well, and he attacks for 1,590 with a 2 or 3 turn cooldown. The Daimyo Turtle right in the center of the room has 9 HP and attacks for 1220 on a 2 or 3 turn cooldown. And the Lobster in the left hand corner has a health of 21 and an attack power of 3,980, and he will have either a 3 to 5 turn cooldown. Really good if he has a 5 turn cooldown. And the other mobs that surround it will have approximately 50,000 health. in researching, and the attack power of 5,876, and they have either a 1, 2, or 3 turn cooldown. So the mobs that you want to take down first are definitely the other mobs, so the bat guy and the shooter character. If you guys can take those guys out first, that would be the best choice, because they deal, you know, close to 6,000 damage, which is quite hefty. And then from there you can basically take down whichever units are going to attack you first. And I would recommend stalling on the lobster or the turtle if you guys can, because with the turtle itself, you can take at least 3 turns on the turtle. If you have a 4 combo hitter on your team, you can get 4 turns of stall on the turtle. Sorry, 3 turns of stall on the turtle, and then on the lobster you can get close to 6. You can get like 5 or 6 turns of stall on the lobster, which is really good. It just depends on whether or not the cooldowns for each of these units is really high or not, and depending or not whether you want to take damage. If you want to take damage, then you can basically stall forever on this room. This room can basically get you nearly all of your specials maxed out, plus with the previous room as well. But overall, it is a pretty simple room. You just got to make sure you get the right amount of stall on each of the characters, and you take down the right units first. Otherwise, you're going to be taking too much damage from this room. So now let's move on to Stage 3. So here we are on Stage 3. Now, Stage 3 has an Elder Seahorse. Now, this Elder Seahorse, same as most other raid bosses, has 6 health, and his attack will basically just randomly chain a unit on your team for 6 turns. Definitely need to take down that guy first. Otherwise, you know, chaining a random unit for 6 turns can be quite deadly, as it does have a chance to chain your captain. And if your captain gets chained, then you no longer get their captain effect. So definitely have to take down that Seahorse first. And then the Red Thug has approximately 50,000 health and an attack power of 4,375. However, the first turn he gets to attack, he'll actually just change your either quick orbs into bother orbs, or if there are no quick orbs on your team, he'll just do his regular attack. Now that's the exact same thing for the Blue Thug. The Blue Thug has 50,000 health, and he'll either do 4,375 damage, or if you have a Dex orb on your team that gets randomized and put on your team, he'll change that orb into a bother orb. Now, the Green Thug, which is that shooter character again, will silence your friend captain for 1 turn. And then you have the Penguin. Now, the Penguin in the back is very interesting because the first turn he gets to attack, he'll just buff the defense. I'm pretty sure he buffs the defense of all characters on the opposing side. And the next time he gets a chance to attack, he'll actually do 4,500 damage to you. So the Penguin in this room is not really that good to stall on. This room is very hard to stall on correctly, as all the units pretty much do a lot of damage to you. So I would just recommend in taking down the units in whatever their cooldowns are, and leave the highest cooldown units until the end, and then you can kill them off. That will give you the most amount of stall on this room. And here we have Stage 4. Now, Stage 4 actually has a miniature boss, being Duval. Now, Duval, he has 400,000 health and an attack power of 4,516, and he attacks every 2 turns with a 2-turn cooldown. And his preemptive attack will poison you for 15 turns, and then change all slots on your team to bother orbs, which is very bad. And then when his HP falls below 50%, he'll basically just berserk himself and then buff his attack. So when that happens, it means that he'll go to an immediate 1-turn cooldown, and he'll begin attacking you every single turn, and then his attack will be buffed. So it'll go from 4,516 all the way up to a higher number. I think it's close to 10,000 or something like that, which is pretty ridiculous. Now, the thugs that surround him have approximately 30,000 health, and they'll attack you for approximately 3,500. So they deal a lot of damage to you if you're unable to take them out. And the pistol thugs, which are the ones at the back, the female units, they will silence your friend captain for 1 turn upon attacking. So if you leave all 3 of them there, you'll basically have your friend captain silenced for 3 turns. So definitely have sockets on your team, or have just a way to take them down very quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be taking so much damage, as well as getting your friend captain silenced, which can be really bad for most teams. So definitely, this is one of the most difficult rooms in the whole dungeon. I'd say it's almost just as difficult as the final room if you don't have the right team or the right units. So definitely, this is probably one of the rooms that you want to go ahead and use Golden Pound Usopp to stall, and you know, just take your time in taking down these units very easily, without having to worry about having your captain silenced. So I would suggest use Golden Pound Usopp on this room with the previous stall in the previous 3 stages, and then you can take down these units really, really easily. So the final stage, on stage 5, we have the final boss being Duval. Now Duval has 1.22 million health and an attack power of 5,150 and attacks every 2 turns with a 2-turn cooldown. And the thugs that surround him have 56,200 health and have an attack power of 3,916. Now the attack pattern for Duval goes like this. So he does a preemptive attack that will silence both of your captains for a single turn, and then he'll also deal 5,150 damage to you. He'll also buff his defense for 4 turns, and then poison damage you for 9 turns. So he does all of these things as a preemptive attack. This is a very, very hefty cost that you have to deal with, so having the right team is very, very important against a raid boss like this, because, you know, his defense up is actually really, really annoying. It's actually a pretty significant defense increase. The poison can get very annoying. You're getting silenced for a turn, so basically you're not going to be doing much damage for a turn as long as you have sockets. If you have sockets, it's okay. But yeah, being silenced is pretty bad, and 5,150 damage as well. Moving on from that though, so every 2 turns he'll just do his regular attack, and then when his HP falls below 66%, now if you guys don't know when that will happen, the little image that you see on screen, there is a little arrow pointing towards his shield part. Now, on his armor, when the HP bar falls past that where the armor is, it basically means that's 66% of his health. So you want to try and, you know, stay above that until you're ready to basically burst him down. So when his HP falls below 66%, he'll chain 3 random units on your team for a single turn, and then he'll give himself an attack increase, and then he'll berserk himself. So when he says it berserks, it basically means he'll attack you every single turn, not every 2 turns, and that attack buff means his attacks will do 10,300 damage. Very, very bad. It's very, very bad when it gets to that stage. You want, like, at that stage, that's when you want to be trying to take him out in that last turn. Otherwise, he's going to start dealing so much damage to you. And when his HP falls below 20%, he'll deal 18,600 damage to you and then chain 3 random units for 2 turns. So, as I said, you want to try and take him down in 1 turn before his HP falls below 66%. Otherwise, you know, as I said, you know, you're going to be taking so much damage, 10,300 damage, and when it falls below 20%, it pretty much will be a good game at that point. You know, chaining 3 random units for 2 turns. As long as you have sockets. If you have sockets, it's okay, and if you have a lot of HP, it's okay. But in most cases, that is a pretty bad. You want to try and take him down before his HP falls below 66%. So now let's go ahead and break down some teams that you can use in order to actually beat this 40 stamina dungeon. So Double Blackbeard is probably the #1 team that I would recommend to you guys, as long as you have your Blackbeards at max special level. If they're not at max special level, then you will find this very, very difficult to clear. You know, if you're 1 or 2 turns off, you can potentially stall a little bit longer and actually do it. But I would strongly recommend, if you're having this team, to have your Blackbeards at max special level. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty difficult to clear this dungeon. Now, the way this team works is that you have the double Blackbeards for their specials, and you have Monster Chopper there just because he has a lot of attack and a lot of HP. Kid is actually pretty useful, so you use Kid and Golden Pound Usopp on the 4th stage, where it's the mini-boss of Duval. So you use the Golden Pound Usopp to delay all the units, and then when you use Kid Special, it will pretty much take down all of the units that surround Duval. It'll leave them on such a small amount of HP, and then you can basically have, you know, like 4 turns to take down Duval before he actually attacks you. So that is the way that works. And then that last unit, it really can just be up to you. You could use Arlong, you could use Little Laws Jr. because he has like 4,000 health at max level, so that's really good for a Blackbeard team. I would probably recommend Little Laws Jr. if you guys have him. If not, I would probably run Arlong or something like that. Just something with a lot of health and a lot of attack that's a red unit. And basically, that's all that you really need. And also, the Marine ship at max level is recommended as well. It gives you 1.5 times HP. So not only are you getting a HP boost from Blackbeard, but you're also getting a HP boost from the Marine ship. And with this team, you know, I think you get close to like 130,000 health or something like that. And basically, when you enter the last room against Duval, when he silences you with his preemptive attack, that's when you want to go ahead and use the double Blackbeard special, because when your Blackbeards get silenced, you lose all your health, and then the double Blackbeard special will basically just clear Duval's room. You know, it's that simple. This team is so good, and probably the team that I'm going to be using when it gets released, so definitely look forward to a video on that. The next team that we're going to have a look at is a free-to-play slasher team. Now, with this team, you want to definitely have the coffin boat ship for that extra HP for your slasher units. Otherwise, this can be a little bit difficult, and I'm not too sure if you can beat it without the coffin ship. I'm sure you can, but it's just so much easier with the coffin boat ship, and definitely recommended to have a double Dex Mihawk captains, not a Legend Mihawk, because you definitely need that 30% health cut that the Raid Mihawk provides. Now, the other units in the team, you have Golden Pound Usopp for turn delay, that can be used on stage 4 or stage 5, depending on what, kind of happens. If you can take down all of the units that will silence you, or if you have sockets that prevent silencing, then that's fine. But if not, you can just use it on the 4th room or the 5th room with Golden Pound Usopp. It doesn't really matter. You got Doflamingo there just for that awesome ability of doubling the effectiveness of orbs and some orb switching. You have Mr. 1 there for slasher boosts. You have Arlong there because he's the most powerful strength slasher that we currently have. So the way this team works is you want to try and get 2 strength orbs on Mr. 1, and you want to have one on Arlong as well. And the way this team works is that on that last room, you basically use double Mihawk special to cut down the HP of Duval, and then you want to burst down Duval's HP with Doflamingo and Mr. 1, and hopefully having a strength orb on Arlong and Mr. 1, and basically just bursting down that last bit of HP that Duval will have after the Mihawk special. So overall, this team works pretty well, and I would recommend it to you guys if you guys don't have those max Blackbeards. The only thing is, getting the max Doflamingo would be a little bit difficult. So, maybe if you have a few skill ups on him, I'm not too sure if it'll work or not. And, yeah, I recommend this team. This team can work quite well. But anyways, now let's move on to the last team that I'm going to recommend to you guys, which is a double Gear 3 team. So here is a double Gear 3 burst team. Now, with this team in particular, it is actually pretty difficult when it comes to that 4th stage, because you want to try and save the Golden Pound Usopp for the last stage. So that means on the 4th stage, where you have those units that can potentially silence your captain, your friend captain, you want to try and auto-target them, or manually target them, sorry, and take down those guys first on that stage, because you want to save Golden Pound Usopp for the last stage so that you can potentially get some good orbs on your Gear 3. That is definitely what you want to do. So with this team in particular, it's actually pretty good. You have Alvida there for some safekeeping on that stage 4. Instead of using Golden Pound Usopp, you have Alvida there so that you can, potentially take a couple of attacks, or an attack from Duval on that 4th stage, because he does a lot of damage to you. And then you got Kid, who will guarantee you a strength orb, which is really, really good. And Kid will also help you in clearing that 4th stage as well, so that's why he's there as well. And yeah, this team actually works pretty well, but still, I would recommend, out of any of these teams that I've suggested to you, the Blackbeard team will work a lot of the time, unless if you stuff up and accidentally get silenced throughout the dungeon. Otherwise, that won't work. But in any other case, the double Blackbeard works very, very well. Similar to the Heracles dungeon. If you guys haven't seen that, you can check it out on my channel, where I versed Heracles with a double Blackbeard team. Worked very, very well, and it's the similar sort of thing. You just use double Blackbeard to, just to kill the whole dungeon. It's super, super OP. But anyways, that is going to conclude yet another How to Beat guide video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, and if you guys have enjoyed it, make sure to smack that like button down below. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, then make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.